Okay. Half an hour. You too? So good day, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry, but my Tunisian language is not so good, and I thank you so much for listening to me in English. You all understand a little bit of English? You can help each other, right? Okay, when there is something that is not clear, you can always call me. Yeah? You can always. First of all, we will cross the lowest bridge of the city. Mind your head, please. Don't worry, you can't go underneath them. When you stand up, you stay with the bridge. Not a good idea. Okay? All these cameras, right? Just like Kennedy here. Mind your head. Perfect. On the left-hand side, we're passing the last home brewery of the city, the brewery De Halvermaan, still in function as such, still brewing two kinds of lovely beer. Bruges Zot, Straffe Hendrik. Nice beers that win prizes each year on international contests all over the world. How about for the how many people together?
Yes, 20, 25.
25.
Swans.
Okay. Thank you, because I have to fill in my paper.
27 said.
No, it's already written down now. No problem. Don't worry. In front of us, the old lockhouse from the 17th century with beyond the Lake of Love, together with its park, one of the most romantic spots in the town. Underneath the bridge, you can see the three locks. They still control today the level of the water inside town daily. You see? The three locks, together with the other locks that surround the city, they control the water height here. Already since the 17th century. No more overfloods here, thanks to this very good system. Now we turn and we have a look on the left-hand side to the beautiful Belgium, a wonderful convent founded in the 13th century. Now since the last century, no more Beguines are living there anymore. It's now occupied by Benedictine nuns and older women.
The Bruges Beguine Hospital is a community of lay women run by a Groot Juffrouw, or Grand Mistress. In addition to the residents of the Groot Juffrouw and the other Beguine cottages, the complex included a church, a guest house, a farm, and a brewery. Unlike nuns, the Beguines were not required to take permanent vows.
Beautiful Belgium. Now one of the ladies that lives there keeps a guest house inside. Voila. You understand already. One of the ladies has a guest house, and that means today a man can stay there legally. Clever, never. Oh my God. The brewery is a nice place to visit because at the end of the tour inside you can do the tasting. After 5 years you speak all the languages of the world. except your own language. Not included Maltese, except Maltese.
Say bonjour.
The day after you can speak it back, you can speak again, but not the same day. Mind your head, please. Don't mention the bloodstains everywhere. Shit happens, you know. On this clinic here, you see the tower of the St. Saviour's Cathedral, the oldest church in town from the 10th century. Yes. Baptized as a cathedral only in the 18th century, after the burning down of the St. Ignatius Cathedral in the center of the town. See? And on the left-hand side now, the oldest hospital on the continent of Europe from the 12th century, St. John's Hospital. In the oldest part, you can visit the Hans Memling Museum, and next door you can have a look inside of a beautiful pharmacy, dating from the 17th century. The oldest hospital on the continent of Europe. All the that's what the continent is. Oh. That's because there's an old one in London, but that's not the continent. Yeah, but that's the line with that is. It's clear for me that Malta had also this. That's not the plan, no. But there were lots of travelers passing by Malta, and here as well, because this was the main harbor in Europe in business with the onion. So you had a silk line. All these travelers came here, and they had to take care of their food because they were used by walking so long. Yeah. On the left-hand side, you have the beautiful Palace of Bruges from the 15th century, now in use as a museum of applied art and archaeology. Beautiful gargoyles in the side, and on top of the building you will see a beautiful watchtower as well, a real sculpture in bluestone. Oh, gorgeous. It's a lovely palace to visit, the Palace of Bruges. This is the bridge that belongs to it. The first part was built together with the palace in the 15th century. The second part was added in the 16th. And the third part in the 17th century. Lots of stalactites and massive spirals.
On your right, you can see the Groningen Museum, which boasts an outstanding collection of southern Netherlandish and Belgian paintings, spanning the period from the 15th to the 20th centuries. Slightly further on is the College of Europe, a postgraduate institution, which provides courses for young academics as part of a program to promote the further unification of Europe.
And next to that you have the Hotel de Tuileries, formerly sanatorium with windows out of Venetian glass from Murano, Venice, Italy. Murano glass. nationalities, quite a long bridge to cross again. In front of us, the old tanner's house of the 17th century, the main tannery in this area at that moment. The water came underneath the workshop at that moment. And behind the corner we will have a nice view of the beautiful belfry on the main square. 15th century, 83 meters high. Inside only 366 steps to get into the top. A nice view from out there on the city and a large neighborhood, of course. 47 bells hanging in this tower, a total weight of 27 metric tons. Heavy metal music each hour. A lot of bronze. 27 metric tons. Quite a lot of bronze.
On your left, you can see the back of the 17th century law courts, which are now home to offices belonging to the municipal authorities of the city of Bruges.
In front of us, the oldest bridge of the city from the 14th century, the Matrix. 700 years of age, only once repaired in all its life, solid as a rock. The Matrix.
The name May comes from Maker, the Dutch word for madder. In the Middle Ages, the roots of the madder plant were stamped and used as a dye for colouring wool or linen.
The kind of color they had with this madder plant was the kind of red you see in the house there. Oxblood red, it's called. Today the official color of the city of Bruges. On the left-hand side, a beautiful garden house for your most romantic candlelight dinners here.
On the right is an old connecting channel to the canal linking Bruges to the city of Ghent.
40 kilometers away from here, the beautiful city of Ghent, 25 miles. You can go by canal only in the summertime. There's a connection with the boat, the river Bruges. It should be freezing, but when I was a kid, I was skating here on the water. We had a small competition, but that was years ago, 40 years ago. And then we could skate on the water. In the winter time, there were little shops on the water, you know, on the ice. They sold hot dogs, etc., sausages, you know. And everybody was skating there. So that was strange. When you came out of your house, you heard some people laughing and chattering and etc., but you didn't saw no one. Because they were all in the canal, you see, it was down. And then, oh yeah, there were plenty of people. That was nice. But since 20 years now, it wasn't freezing enough to skate on the water. It's very sad, of course. because that was lovely. In the meanwhile, beside us, on the left and on the right, you see lots of those typical Bruges stepfaçades, step gables. They were all built in the period spanning the 14th to the 18th century. A building style you will find back from here till in the northern part of Germany, along the coastline, over the Netherlands, Denmark, till in Poland, as a matter of fact. You know the city of Gdansk, and that was a Hansa city as well, and they had also copied those building styles from us. In front of us, you see the spire of the St. Gilles Church. On the left, St. Walburga Church. In the historical part of town, you will find altogether 9 churches and 22 chapels for only 20,000 inhabitants. Next to that, more than 500 pubs and bars for a good balance between Catholics and alcoholics. Very important, you see. But they believe in spirits, but liquid spirits. Oh, that's a Now beyond the bridge, we will go to the left into the medieval harbour of Bruges. In the 15th century, the main harbour in Europe and the business in the Orient. The sea ships, they came from the North Sea and they stopped in the harbour of Damme. That's about 3-4 miles away from here. Over there, the goods were loaded in smaller boats like these ones with a mast, of course, because that was the big deal. They needed the wind to get cut it off. And so those boats, they came here into this medieval harbour. The bridges were different because the centre part was in wood that could be lifted, so those boats could get through and come here. Yes.
We are now in what was once the medieval harbour of Bruges. In its day, it was witness to a flourishing trade. Bruges imported food, luxury goods and raw materials, such as iron ore and wood. The return cargoes mainly consisted of finished products such as linen, leather goods and woolen hose. The building with the tower in front of us is the 15th century quarters lodge, so called because it was originally a meeting hall for quarters, rich merchants of the medieval city. It was later an art school and is now the municipal archive. In front of the building is a statue of the 15th century painter Jan van Eyck.
And at the end of this street you will find the first stock market in the world, already founded in the 13th century, founded by Mr. van der Beurze, the man who gave his name to this institute. The Beurs, in English translation, is the purse where you put your money in. That was the translation, and it still is the translation. But they don't use the word the purse anymore for the stock market because it's too small, the little purse, you see. All these big spenders. Yeah. Now beyond the bridge on the left you have this white palace. That was the British consulate in the 18th century. Now in use as a primary school. The gentleman next to me, he asked why these iron crosses are on the bridge here. You see? This is what you remember. On the other side you have as well a cross that was meant to keep the bridge together during the building. They could lay the stones on a good way going through. And that's also the same system we use for the houses, like you see on the left here, this iron bars on the outside. Inside the house you have a wooden layer in between the walls, and it's fixed on the outside with this metal bar to keep the house together. There was a building system. The beautiful White House in front of us, that was the house they used for the American movie The Nun Story with Audrey Hepburn. And beyond, you see the flag go down at the end of the street. That's the oldest cafe in town. A beautiful place that became 500 years old. Or let's say 2 years ago now, it became 500 years old. It's a beautiful place. Something is lifting up. When you have the time, it's a nice place to visit. Well, it's Monday. I don't feel so. On the left-hand side, a beautiful house. On top of the windows and the door, you see little gargoyle-like creatures. See the heads. Those heads were added there to chase away the bad spirits.
The historic centre of Bruges boasts a large number of restored houses, such as the house on the left with its weather vane representing an architect.
A typical renovation they did in the 70s of the last century. Nowadays these things are forbidden because the whole city is now protected by UNESCO World Heritage, and you have to follow some rules. And that's not bad, of course. Now when you look on the right hand side over there to the White House with the step facade, you see? The number 10 on the right hand side over there. Above the highest window, you recognize the logo of the first McDonald's, you know? A few weeks ago I had a man next to me, he looked up and then he looked at me and he said, "Oh yeah, wow. So is this the first McDonald's in the world?" I was very surprised. I was nearly in shock when he asked me. Because the house dates from the 15th century. It's very similar. It looks like, of course it looks like. And I explained to the man, but it was the first McDonald's for this little man. He came from another planet, I suppose.
The canals of the historic city centre are called the Rhine and hold fresh water with a depth of between 1.5 and 2 meters. The water is clean enough for fish to live in, mainly eels and carp. The house with the number 8 on our left is an almshouse, known as Godshausen or Houses of God. These were the medieval equivalent of sheltered housing. Some were used by guild members as retirement homes or houses for widows, and others were built by rich private citizens as an act of charity for the benefit of deserving old people. They still serve as old people's homes even today.
With the image of the pelican above the door, the symbol for generosity. And this is a nice view we get here from underneath this first bridge, or the oldest bridge, with in the back the old golf course, and the cathedral of St. Saviour's beyond. On the left-hand side in the corner you have the old fish market, 19th century, still open daily for a small part in the morning. On the right hand side, the amazing statue of the lady that is still searching for her contact lenses. In front of us, the Bonifacius Bridge, the houses with a wooden facade, built in 1920, like the houses were built over here in the 15th century. Of that moment, forbidden to the houses from fire. Houses in wood, narrow streets, that was the combination. When they started building in bricks only, like the house next door. The house that belonged to the first Spanish governor of the city of Bruges. Don Perez de Malvin, that was his name. It was also the residence for the Spanish king when he came to the Netherlands here. And that's the pride of the city here, the Church of the Holy Lady, all in bricks with a total height of 122 meters. The highest church ever built in bricks only in Europe. Yes, yes, yes. Right ahead, please. Inside this beautiful church, you can go and see this wonderful little statue made out of white Carrara marble, made by Michelangelo, the Madonna with the child. And next to that, you can also admire the mausoleum of Maria from Burgundy and her father, Charles the Bold. And don't forget to look at the paintings on the wall in all these churches here, because their works are all made by the students of these great masters with huge names like Van Eyck, Hans Memling, Peter Murbers, Bruegel, etc. The churches, they ordered paintings for their churches, and they ordered that with these big masters, their great masters, but they didn't do it themselves. They let it do by their students. But they always looked over the shoulder with them and say, oh, not there, but there, and there. So the value of this work is so huge, you can't give a price on them. Because the masters, yeah, they are priceless. But very beautiful work. This church and the cathedral, most exquisite work, beautiful. This picture is in Ghent, for Jan van Eyck, yes. But the painter lived in Bruges, isn't it? Landsbos, it's called.
In front of us is the Bonifacius Bridge, and beyond the bridge, on the right, we can enjoy another fine view of the Onze grounds.
On the left-hand side, a beautiful little house with a wooden facade, 19th century. Today, a most charming and romantic guest house. The best place for the honeymoon night. Well, there's a guy in Bruges who was already 15 times there for his honeymoon. 15. No, he's in hospital with a broken heart now. Oh yes.
Well, we've now come to the end of our tour. It's customary to tip the skipper, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your stay in Bruges.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Please pay attention for your hands. Keep them in the boat during the docking. Enjoy your stay. Thanks for your visit. Thanks for the appreciation. When you appreciated the ride, please don't forget the guide. It's very important for us for passing the winter because then we have no cost. Thank you very much. First I will tie up the boat to the bridge and then you can step out of the boat without making a split. That's better for the house. Thank you very much. Mind your hands. Mind your head.
In hand.